When you think of Frank Sutton, you probably picture the red-faced, high-volume Sergeant Vince Carter barking at the wide-eyed Gomer Pyle in one of television's most beloved comedies. His explosive delivery and intense expressions turned every scene into a burst of laughter. But while America was entertained, few knew the real man behind the uniform. Because behind the booming voice and comic fury was a war hero, a man scarred by battle, carrying emotional wounds that Hollywood never dared to show. At starloopnews, we're pulling back the curtain on a life shaped not just by fame, but by sacrifice, and one that ended in quiet tragedy. Born in 1923 in Clarksville, Tennessee, Frank Sutton was a boy enchanted by storytelling long before he ever stepped in front of a camera. He grew up in the golden age of radio, sneaking into his local station just to feel the pulse of broadcasting. Acting wasn't just a hobby, it was his lifeline. But then came World War II and Sutton didn't hesitate. While others looked for ways to avoid the draft, he volunteered for the front lines. The real front lines. Sutton served in the Pacific Theater, surviving 14 brutal combat landings. He witnessed horrors few could imagine: friends dying in his arms, jungle ambush, moments where death was inches away. But he never spoke publicly about it. No memoirs, no dramatic interviews. Instead, he returned home with the weight of war buried deep within. Rather than run to Hollywood, Sutton enrolled at Columbia University, graduating magna cum laude. Acting became more than a career, it became his therapy, a way to process the pain without speaking it aloud. He brought a grounded intensity to every role because he wasn't imagining trauma, he was reliving it. In the 1950s, Sutton carved a path through early television dramas, his raw energy catching the eye of casting directors. Then came 1964 and Gomer Pyle, U.S.M.C. The chemistry between Sutton's tough-as-nails Sergeant Carter and Jim Neighbors' innocent Gomer was pure magic. Viewers laughed, but off-screen, the two men shared something deeper: mutual respect and an unspoken understanding. Neighbors once described Sutton as one of the most complex and intelligent men he had ever worked with, despite the tough guy act. Frank was a devoted husband and father. He went home to his wife, Toby, and their son, Joseph, every night. He avoided the Hollywood party scene. But there were whispers, on-set mood swings, long absences during production breaks, a refusal to stay at military hotels while filming. Abroad, no one pieced it together. Some called it method acting. Others said he was just quirky. What they didn't know was that Frank Sutton was living with what we now call PTSD, but back then the term didn't exist. There were no support systems, no resources, he just carried it alone. As the years passed, the emotional toll caught up with him. In the 1970s, Sutton stepped away from television and returned to the stage. It was quieter, more controlled, less chaotic. But even that escape couldn't shield him forever. On June 28, 1974, in Shreveport, Louisiana, Sutton was preparing for a live theater performance of Love when he suddenly collapsed in his dressing room. He never made it to the stage. The man who had survived the fury of war, conquered television, and fought silent battles no one saw, was gone, just 50 years old. A heart attack, they said, but there was more. According to family friends, his wife Toby found a folded note in the pocket of his jacket addressed simply "To whom it may concern." In it, Frank spoke of unbearable pain, the ghosts of the war, the pressures of stardom, the silence he had endured. He confessed he was tired of pretending, tired of being strong. Some believe he had even stopped taking his heart medication in the weeks leading up to that performance. Hollywood covered it up. Tributes poured in saying he died doing what he loved, which was true, but not the full story. The real tragedy isn't just how he died, but how he lived, suffering in silence. Behind every laugh he gave us was a man trying to silence his own inner torment. Behind every angry outburst on screen was someone crying out to be seen not as a character, but as a wounded soul. Today, we're finally having conversations about mental health, PTSD, and the hidden costs of fame. But back then, heroes like Frank Sutton were expected to suffer in silence. He wore a mask so perfectly, the world never realized it was hiding deep emotional pain. So the next time you catch a rerun of Gomer Pyle. U.S.M.C. and laugh at Sergeant Carter's hilarious rants. Remember the man behind the uniform. A real Marine, a devoted father, a survivor, and a soul who gave everything on the battlefield, in front of the camera, and in his final breath. At starloopnews, we honor the stories behind the spotlight. If this tribute moved you, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this video to keep Frank Sutton's legacy alive. Because sometimes, the funniest faces hide the deepest stories.